National insurance, up. Capital gains tax, up. Inheritance tax, up. Energy taxes, up. Business rates, up. First-time buyer stamp duty, up. Pensions tax, up. They have fiddled the figures. Don't like it, but this is the truth. They have fiddled the figures. They have raised tax to record levels. They have broken their promises, and it is the working people of this country that are going to pay the price.
Rachel Reeves has just been exposed for lying on live TV, and this event has shocked us all. Her reputation collapsed like a house of cards when Rishi Sunak blamed her for the catastrophic budget deficit. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. Even the head of the Bank of England is sounding the alarm, warning that her dangerous tax and budget plans could keep inflation high for another 2 years. Are we really ready to face new financial difficulties? Rachel Reeves has just shocked us with her incredible lies, trying to sell us this absurd fairy tale life. How can we trust her after that?
Today, more than £60 billion worth of investment into the UK. What does that mean? It means 40,000 new jobs in Britain, paying decent wages, more money in the pockets of working people, high streets regenerated, new opportunities for young people to get skilled up and build careers.
Rachel Reeves claims that her budget is aimed at economic growth and justice for all. But one has only to look at the real numbers as a completely different picture opens up before us. She tries to convince us that her plan will bring prosperity and justice. But in fact, it will only lead to higher taxes for all segments of the population. And who, tell me, will be in the most vulnerable position? That's right, these will be those who are already barely making ends meet. Rishi Sunak wasn't going to let this go unnoticed. In private meetings, he furiously attacked Reeves, arguing that her budget was not just harmful, it was destroying our economy and burdening working people with new taxes. Even on air, Labour Secretary Sarah Jones tried to defend this failure, but the public didn't give her a chance. One brave voice in the crowd said that this budget was the cause of the collapse for many. And you know what? Even the experts can't contain their dissatisfaction.
Well, let's get the reaction now of the Vice President of the National Farmers Union, Rachel Hallos, who joins me now live. Very good evening to you. Thanks so much for talking to us. What do you make of this inheritance tax measure, and what are other farmers saying to you as well?
Well, I'm actually up in Scotland. I'm away from my own home farm at the moment, and I'm at a sale up in the west coast of Scotland, a Select Cattle Society sale, and every single farmer that I have seen, these are people that I've known for years, have come straight up to me and said, what on earth is going on? How are we supposed to be able to deal with this? How do we ensure that our business survives? How are we supposed to invest in our business and grow, which we thought this is what government wanted us to do? So I think, listening to the reports that you've already said, people are just baffled by how on earth this is part of the plan, to be quite honest. The new government came in, we've been seesawing with previous governments. We were told that we were going to get stability. We were told that the government needed growth. We needed to generate this income for the country. We're up for that.
According to the statements, Reeves' approach based on taxes and expenses allegedly will not affect economic growth, and all this talk about stimulating the economy sounds like an empty phrase. But the real story of Reeves' budget disaster is that she is trying to mislead us, hoping that we will not notice how her fair budget will actually become a heavy burden for working people. She raises taxes and makes empty promises, hiding her true intentions behind them, and passes off economic growth and justice as beautiful words. This lie about the budget is just the tip of the iceberg. We are just beginning to realize how terrible the consequences could be if Reeves gets his way. We are talking about serious economic problems that could befall us if this budget is adopted. When the Governor of the Bank of England, Andrew Bailey, warns that Reeves' tax and spending plan could keep inflation high for another 2 years, it sounds very alarming. He strongly warns that all these additional government spending could lead to even more price increases, and it may take until 2025 for inflation to return to normal. It's not just the numbers on the page, it's a real threat to our families. And now imagine that this struggle stretches for another 2 years. Real people are suffering, and it's not just statistics. This is real life, full of anxiety and uncertainty.
I'm a small business owner, I'm a publican. Look, I would like to see people earn more money, and I'm never going to want to take that away from people. But that has to be paid for by someone, and that's the employer. Now, not only I've got higher wage bills coming, probably £200 or £300 extra a week I've got to find as a business, but national insurance contributions going up, that's going to add a few £100 a week as well. And then we've got the business rates. Obviously, pubs have been in quite a bad state since COVID, and we're just sort of coming out, you know, the inflationary pressures as well. And now suddenly they're taking some of that relief away. So next year, we've got to find quite a bit of money per week extra just to survive. Yeah. Where is that coming from?
Stress, yeah.
You know, if average person is being taxed more, they're not going to spend their money in the pub. So it's quite a depressing outlook.
The situation continues to deteriorate rapidly. Bailey warns loudly, if inflation does not decrease, interest rates may remain high. This means that mortgage payments will increase, loans will become unaffordable, and only a pitiful amount will remain in your pocket. Your landlord can ruthlessly raise the rent, and you can forget about any savings. We will all be trapped, living paycheck to paycheck, with no hope for the best. And all this pain comes from the budget, which, according to Labour, should help working people. What kind of help is this? They promised economic growth and justice, but in reality we only get even more inflation and even tougher conditions. So how serious is the threat of inflation from Labour's plan? We are facing a long-term financial struggle from which there is no way out. Labour is actually pushing our economy over the cliff, and we are still on this terrible path. But what's really striking is that Reeves and her colleagues continue to defend this disaster. They try to convince us that all these extra expenses will somehow improve our lives, but this is just madness. I have some bitter news for them. The numbers don't lie, and our empty wallets speak for themselves. This inflationary nightmare is just the beginning. We will face even more serious problems if Labour gains control of the economy. But more on that later. Now let's talk about something really important.
I really am, towards the end of my tether.
Do these people not understand where food comes from in this country?
The industry is on its knees. It's on its knees.
My primary concern is actually for my kids here.
There is a heartbreaking story about a farmer from Yorkshire who, unable to withstand the pressure of changes in inheritance tax, passed away. And many people think that this tax applies only to the rich, but this is a terrible misconception. I was sure that this budget should support the working people, but if this is the case, why should I be afraid that we will be robbed at the most difficult moment? These changes affect ordinary farmers who have been cultivating the land for generations, putting their soul and labor into it. The farmer's son found a note full of fear and despair, in which his father was looking for ways to protect their farm from the new tax burden. Can you imagine that the last moments of your life are spent in terror for the future of your family, when a ruthless government is standing over you? By interfering with the law on tax breaks for agricultural property, the Labour Party is actually destroying the lives of those who feed our country. They complicate the process of land transfer, and for many farmers this means that they will have to sell off some of their land to pay taxes. We are talking about family farms that have been around for hundreds of years, not soulless corporations. This is not just a problem of a few farmers, it is a real crisis that affects the entire agricultural sector. These people who get up before dawn and work in all conditions provide food for all of us, and the Labour Party treats them as if they are just a source of money. I was shocked at how the Labour Party, which constantly declares its support for the working class, actually betrays those who really work. The farmers we know and love are victims of a system that doesn't appreciate their efforts. It becomes almost impossible for them to keep their farms in the family. And even worse, it doesn't solve any real problems. It won't improve the economy or raise the standard of living for anyone. All this does is threaten our food security. If all our farmers go broke, where are Labour going to get food from? Why do farmers like John Charlesworth feel hopeless? Because they face a terrible choice: give up their family legacy or wallow in debts that ruin their lives. For some, this is simply unbearable.
I'm a small business owner, I'm a publican. Look, I would like to see people earn more money, and I'm never going to want to take that away from people. But that has to be paid for by someone, and that's the employer. Now, not only I've got higher wage bills coming, probably £200 or £300 extra a week I've got to find as a business, but national insurance contributions going up, that's going to add a few £100 a week as well. And then we've got the business rates. Obviously, pubs have been in quite a bad state since COVID, and we're just sort of coming out, you know, the inflationary pressures as well. And now suddenly they're taking some of that relief away. So next year, we've got to find quite a bit of money per week extra just to survive.
It seems that Labour is trying to destroy one of the foundations that make Britain what it is. Let's talk about pensioners. Do you think they will be safe from all these changes? As if not so, they are also exhausted by this budget. What is really frustrating is that Labour continues to talk about fairness and economic growth. But where is this justice when pensioners can barely pay their bills? It seems that they live in some kind of alternative reality where by making everyone poorer, the country somehow becomes richer. By 2028, almost 4 million people will pay higher taxes. And this applies not only to the rich. We're talking about teachers, nurses, and police officers who will suddenly find themselves in a higher tax bracket. How does Labour deal with this? This is called a financial drag, and it's pretty insidious. They do not raise tax thresholds due to inflation, so as your salary increases, you end up paying more taxes. Labour is trying to present this as a fair policy. Since when is squeezing money out of middle-income families considered fair? It's like they've forgotten who they're supposed to be fighting for. And what's really wrong? It won't even solve our economic problems. All this will lead to is an even greater disadvantage for families, lower consumer spending, and possibly a shrinking economy.
All of our plans are fully costed and fully funded. And that means no tax rises for working people.
We're not going to be raising tax on working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We're not putting up taxes on working people.
Labour government will not raise income tax, will not raise national insurance contributions, and will not raise VAT.
We're not going to increase tax on working people, and that means
that Labour will not be putting up taxes on working people.
But no, we don't think that we should be raising taxes on working people.
There'll be no additional taxes on households under a Labour government.
Let me be absolutely clear, we will not raise tax for working people.
We will not raise taxes on working people.
We have said we're not raising taxes on working people.
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We will not be increasing taxes on working people.
That is a commitment not to increase taxes on working people.
I don't believe it's fair to raise taxes on working people.
We will not further increase personal taxes
to lower that burden on working people.
There's nothing in our manifesto which requires additional taxes.
It's complete garbage. We will not be raising taxes on working people.
We're not going to be raising taxes on working people.
I want taxes to be
And we're not going to be increasing taxes on working people.
We've said we will not be raising taxes on working people.
I am announcing an increase in employers' national insurance contributions.
We have no plans to raise taxes on working people. We've said it a million times.
It's by 1.2 percentage points.
And I'll spell that out. No income tax, no national insurance, no VAT.
Means that this budget raises taxes by £40 billion.
I want taxes on working people to be lower.
Labour needs to seriously rethink its approach to this issue. They should start by listening to the people they claim to represent. Because right now their idea of justice seems to be squeezing every last penny out of working families. No one is happy about this. What do you think about this video? Write your opinion in the comments. See you in the next video.